the 58th verse of Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, where Krishna is saying, let's go through the verses and then we'll talk about them. So here Krishna is saying, Yada sangharate chayam kurmo anganiv sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhya tasya pragya pratishtitha. So Krishna is saying one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So today we have to take two verses. So we'll talk about one by one. So here, if you see Krishna in this series, Krishna is talking about a steady mind, a mind who is very much steady in Krishna consciousness. Whatsoever, howsoever, whatever circumstances comes in, he stays fixed. So here Krishna starts. If couple of verses we go back, Krishna said that दुखेषु द्विग्नमना सुखेषु विगत स्प्रियः वित राग भय क्रोधास्तिक धर्मो निरुच्यते. A muni who is steadfast on, he starts with three things. One is attachment, fear, and anger. These words, as very easily said, are very, very difficult to control on when we talk about attachment, fear, and anger being one of the gates to hell. Out of three, anger is one. So likewise, in this verse, Krishna is saying that anyone who is able to withdraw his senses when he sees some problematic conditions, some situations, which is not good for a devotee of Krishna, whether he is able to shrink his senses or not. If yes, he is devoted to, he stands still. If not, he fails. As Goswami Tulsidas Ji Maharaj beautifully and very boldly quotes, he says, Dheeraj dharma mitra arunari apadakal parakahi chari. That until and unless this apadakal comes, the problematic situation comes, whatever we say or tell, that doesn't get tested. But when it gets tested, when situation comes in. For example, when if I think that I do a lot of service in kitchen, but sometime someone comes and says, Prabhu, what are you doing? What is this? You are just wasting your time. Then I feel very bad, because it's very difficult for me to digest someone telling me that I am not working, I am not helping, I am not serving in the kitchen. So this is the point which Prabhupada also mentions, that until and unless we stand still, we stand firmed in Krishna consciousness, that if required, we hear, we talk, we see. If not required, we don't see, we don't talk, we don't hear. So here Krishna compares, as it is written as Kurmo, he compares with a tortoise. As tortoise, you see, he moves on with 6 limbs, 4 legs, 1 head, and 1 tail. He moves very freely. But when he sees that there is some danger in front of us, then he shrinks back all his senses. So that's Krishna is saying that when things are very, very much primitive for us, that for devotion, we spread our senses, we think, hear, chant, talk, we do everything. But when the situation is adverse, is not as per our likings, we don't do anything. For example, in Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, Yagya sisht asina santo muchyante sarvakali vishay bhungyate te papa ye pachantyatma karana. That without offering, don't eat. So here there are 2 categories. First category is things which you cannot offer, that means you cannot consume, right? So leave about that category. Another category is which you can offer and we can consume. But at times we consume those things also without offering, thinking that, in this there is no onion garlic, so we can consume. So this shows that at times that intention, that hankering of our senses is there in behind of our back of our mind, that we want to enjoy. And until and unless we want to enjoy with our sense organs, especially when we talk of eyes, ears, and tongue, and it's as we say, the tongue is the foremost sense organ from where we start our bhakti, because this is the place where we start eating, and this is the place where we start chanting. And until as our tongue is controlled, our tongue is restricted, we cannot go forward in devotional life. That's why Krishna is saying that whenever the situation is opposite to our likings, opposite to our devotional service, we should shrink back our senses. So, like that's why Prabhupada says very beautifully that until and unless we learn this art of whenever we want to spread our senses, we spread, we do the required activities, and then we shrink back. We don't wait that for some things to go wrong, and then we go on a different track altogether. So Krishna is saying, until and unless person is steady fast, he stands still on these things, that when required you spread, and when not required you just shrink back. Till that point of time, we will not be able to consider ourselves as a person who stands fixed in Krishna consciousness. And it's not matter of time. In fact, I have seen in my life a person after even 30 or 40 years. That's why we should not claim that I have been in this line for almost 30, 40 years. It doesn't take moments to just to go down, because our senses are so strong that even after ages, because we don't know how, whatever the activities that we did in our past life, we don't know, and the impressions that those activities have with us. That's why we see, even after so many lives, so many years that we have spent in Krishna consciousness, even at times our mind thinks of, okay, let's listen some good romantic songs or some melody songs. Why that happens? Because we have been listening in our past lives, and getting out of that, it's very difficult. That's why if you see in every scriptures, even before the actual devotional life starts, actual bhakti, that raganuk bhakti starts, thus our saints, our acharyas have talked about controlling your senses. And that's why even in chapter 2, Krishna is talking about, because if you control your senses, we are successful in controlling our senses, you should assume that 90% is done. Because this 90%, the biggest battle is fighting with our own senses. And once it is done, almost we are about to win. That's only 10% is left. So that's why that's why when we move from this words to another verse, you will see Krishna is becoming more strict. Krishna is becoming more, more practical and a bit more blunt. So in this verse, Krishna is telling that Vishya Vini Vartante Niraharasya Dehina Rasa Varjam Raso Apyasya Param Drishtva Nirvitarte. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, we can do that. When we say that anger, lust, and Kam, Krodh, Lobh, and Lobh, it's very difficult to win over them. But you will see many of them have won over them. Is restricted from sense enjoyment. The taste for sense enjoyment objects remains, but the inclination, the taste for that remains. We were not doing, but by God's and Guru's grace, we came in contact with some pure devotee. We came in, we learned what to do and what not to do. We did everything, but at some point of time, when those old things came to our life, we were not able to handle, and we ate which we should not have, which we saw which we should not see, and we heard about the things which we should not talk about or hear about. It happens because it's very difficult controlling our senses and wiping away that inclination, the impression that has been in our mind for so many years, whether it's years or life, we don't know, but that has been there. So now Krishna is saying, but seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in Krishna consciousness. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that once a person is fixed in Krishna consciousness, once a person tastes the nectar of Krishna consciousness, he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to worry too much, because all these rules and regulations. So Prabhupada says that whether it's the 8 instructions that has been given, like yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, all these things are for a neophyte devotee, for controlling his senses. So see, in this Ashtanga Yoga also, yam, niyam, all these have been told just to, control your senses. That do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. But if you are fixed in Krishna consciousness, so that means our journey starts from the 8th step. 7 steps we eradicate, we ignore, we don't bother about them. So that's what Srila Prabhupada says, that once a person is fixed in Krishna consciousness, he is very much devoted and he doesn't bother about all these yogas and all those things. As my Guru Maharaj says, that once a person is able to stay in the mode of samadhi, that's the last step of Ashtanga Yoga, for 3 minutes, he should consider himself as a pure devotee, 100% in samadhi, that he cannot be, deviated from Krishna consciousness. Then my Guru Maharaj says, for us, it is becoming difficult for 3 seconds. How can we talk about 3 minutes? It's so difficult. So that's why they say samadhi means the thought process is eventually coming. By default, it is set as that our mind will think about Krishna, nothing else, because our mind has nothing else than to think about Krishna, only Krishna. So that point is also very difficult. I remember I think in 2022, when I was in Hyderabad, so I was in charge of my kitchen. So I don't like putting too much of spices in everyday, whatever the food that we make, because it's not good for health. Everyday, spices in the food. So when we were eating, all the devotees were sitting. So devotee said, Prabhuji, why it's very tasteless. It's nothing is there in this. He said that, see, Prabhu, we left, non-veg, we left onion garlic, and then we came here. And after that also, if you are getting this food, then what is the use? So I didn't say anything. I thought this thing, that see, even he has left, very good. He has seized his senses, but the inclination, that the impression of those things are still there. He wants that, means somehow he's in the middle of battle, that whether to win or lose, whether to fight or not to fight. He's in that situation, that I am in an atmosphere where we are not allowed. But if those things we left, but I'm not getting anything. That means he is not still convinced that whatever I am doing is 100% correct. And this is what happens even after years. And he's not a new person in the base, because in base we don't keep new people, unless they know the process and they follow the process. We don't allow people to stay. So this shows that it's very difficult controlling the senses, and then to that, it's far more difficult to wipe away the impressions. I know a friend, when I was in 2014, I was in Noida, I used to work here. So one person was there, very senior to me. He was, he had sugar issue, sugar problem. It means in such a way that he used to take insulin. But whenever, if you see, like in Navratras and all those things, here they have a lot of big bhandaras. In that they give halwa, right? Very sweet, very good to eat. So when we used to come down from office on the local streets just to have some fun and just, to refresh. So he used to go and eat. Okay. And then I told Chandan sir, don't eat. These are very sweet. Yeah, man, how much we can control? I will eat and I'll go up and take insulin, no issues. So see, he knows that it is not good for his health. He means a sugar patient, if taking insulin, that means he is in the last stage. But even then, he knows that he should not take. he's taking. That this shows that how difficult it is to, restrict your senses. That's why Goswami Tulsidas Ji Maharaj very beautifully quotes, he says, Janiya tabahi jiva jag jaga jab sab bisaya bilas viraga. We should know only that person is awakened when he is completely freed from all these sense satisfying objects. Then only a soul can be said that he is fully stand erect in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, not. When, until and unless we think about satisfying our senses in any way, we should not consider that we are fixed. That's a long way to go for us. That's why in every chapter, in every nook and corner of our entire spiritual world, you will see some of the other acharyas or saints have said that until and unless we restrict our senses, what we are doing, what we are talking, what we are seeing, what we are hearing, we will not be able to go ahead too much. And I've seen so many people that people come, people go, people come, people go. It's very difficult. That's why when we, when chapter 17 comes, when in the Gita Gyan series, chapter 17 comes, when we talk about things that we should not eat, that we should eat, there are so many questions with the new devotees, so many questions that why should not we eat, what happens, this and that, because they have been accustomed eating all those things for so many years. But even then, but there are people, those who leave, and now they are having a wonderful life. Even they say that I used to do this, but now I feel very light, very good, very enlightened after leaving all these things. That's why the main crux of today's lesson is, until and unless we restrict our senses, many devotees give a lot of philosophical statements saying that, Prabhuji, eat, Prabhuji, this is Krishna Prasad. Nothing is going to happen. That's why Radhesham Prabhu says very beautifully. Radhesham Prabhuji has on Upadeshamrit, he has almost 25 videos, 25 hours of lecture. I saw almost 17, 18 hours I saw. In that he says, this is not, restricting your senses. When you say, Prabhuji, Mahaprasad, Mahaprasad, yes, you should respect Mahaprasad. If someone comes to you taking Mahaprasad and you have your stomach full, then you can just take a pinch of it and you keep it. Keep it with you in a tiffin or whatever it is for later consuming. You can consume it later. But we don't do that. We are so much hankering, we are hankering with our senses that we want to eat that also at that point of time when our stomach is completely full. This shows that yes, our sense organs are still getting attracted towards food. We don't consider it as prasad. That's, we just say for namesake, for the people, those whoever is standing in and around us, just for them we are saying. But our hankering, our attraction is still there towards food. That's where Radhesham Prabhu says this is cheating oneself. We are putting names like Mahaprasad and Krishna Prasad and whatever it is, but at the end of the day, we are cheating ourselves. That's why that's a very beautiful lecture. Our devotees also can hear if if time permits. Very beautiful lecture, a series of lectures. That's why Krishna is saying, until unless this inclination, leave about restricting your senses. That's why I said in 59 verse, Krishna becomes more strict. That this inclination, the impression is far more difficult to wipe off. And this is the thing that we have to do. And this is the point which is known as samadhi. That once we attain this level, after that, whatever comes, whatever doesn't come, doesn't matter at all. Whether it's gulab jamun or whatever jamun it is, doesn't matter if we don't want to consume. Right? For example, for a highly sugar patient, if he's really serious about his health, whether you give gulab jamun or rabadi or rasmalai, he's never interested. Maybe he has that inclination, but we are talking about that inclination, that attraction, that within attraction, that a hidden attraction which is always there, which we know, apart from us, no one knows. So that we have to wipe. And until and unless we wipe off that, it's very difficult standing in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so this, by this we conclude our this class. If any Mataji or Prabhuji has any questions, we can take. And Prabhuji, I think we can stop